So I'm gonna throw this two-parter at you. You touched on this earlier. What were the most challenging parts to write? What was the most enjoyable parts to write?
Okay, I'll start with enjoyable. That was definitely Willa finding the illogic in the adults' comments about things. And she just was a lot of fun to write. She's riding her bike. She's full of passion and confusion and sort of a typical middle schooler. I think that's what middle schoolers have. Overdoing everything and
Yeah.
being a little dramatic,
Yeah.
losing, yes, losing control sometimes. The hardest was definitely the racist parts. It was hard to write the early pages where she expresses racist views. That was hard. And I remember sitting at my dining room table writing that and thinking, who's going to want to read about this racist girl? And actually, that's why I had to frame it as a memoir. For my own sake, I needed people to know that she ends up not racist right from the beginning,
Oh,
that
that's so
she's
interesting.
overcome it.
So it's
Yeah.
definitely like I don't want to say it was like a marketing tactic, but yeah, from a readership.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting. I think it was a good choice because as a reader, we understand how things end up
Mhm.
without knowing how they end up that way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a good way to frame to structure the story for sure. That's so funny that you were like, I don't think anybody would want to read
Yeah, well,
about a
it's
racist
this
teenager. Like,
racist girl, yuck. And yeah, all of the racist parts and were hard. In fact, I really struggled with her father, the character of her father. And I had to do a lot of exercises outside of writing the novel to try to make him more palatable to me, just to have him on the
mm,
page there.
mm,
And I think that worked. I was working with this book that's for screenwriters, actually, and it had a bunch of exercises for developing characters. And one of them was backstory. So I came up with Dick McCoy's backstory, which made him a little bit more sympathetic, at least to me. Grew up in
yeah.
poverty and he didn't have a father. And he's a very wounded human being floundering around and he's trying to social climb and he's not gonna
Yeah.
get there.
I appreciated that too, because it not only does it make him multidimensional, but
Mhm,
it's also it explains the behavior, or explains his pers even though they're very flawed and it's, "Dude, you took the wrong lesson from that," it's like still it explains a lot of, like, problematic human nature. It's because it's a cycle, right? If violence is domestic violence is a cycle, and not
exactly.
just environmental, but genetics. It's like alcoholism, substance abuse can be a
Mhm.
cycle, things like that. So it helps explain the behavior. But what I always want to like stress is that it doesn't excuse the behavior, right?
No.
Just makes it just not like it makes sense, but it helps to like maybe we see these commonalities and we see like the causes and we can help us identify it in other instances
Mhm,
where as a child, like you shouldn't do that because that's gonna
mhm.
fuck him up later. It's things like that where it definitely added to the depth of Dick McCoy for sure.